Here we are back at the Gill Athletics Track and Field Connections podcast. So happy that you pressed play. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one, and hopefully you're having a lot of fun with a lot of these great guests that we've had. I just want to, if this is your first time, first of all, thanks for being here. If you are repeat, I love you to death. That's what we do this for. I just want to encourage you as you go through today's episode, go back in the same app that you're listening on, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube. Go back into the backlog. This is episode 200 and something. That means we've had 200 and something other amazing men and women here on the show. And I just don't want those to ever be lost. So go back and look at our backlog. It's quite a library that we are building up here. So let's add to that library today. Help me welcome the head coach of Madonna University. It's not in New Jersey. I don't know why you guys would think that. It's actually in Michigan. Help me welcome the wise, the wonderful Mr. Stacy Latnie. Stacy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Everybody starts off by asking me that, and my answer is pretty much the same every time, is I get paid to talk to you every day. So I'm doing really well, my friend.
Good.
Stacy, thank you so much for joining me, man. We've had you on the docket for a while, so I'm glad we were able to finally mesh it up here. And I'm excited to learn more about your journey and what's going on at Madonna and what's got you excited about the upcoming year here. So let's start with your origin story, if you will. At some point, somewhere, track started for you. It might have been as an athlete. It might have been as maybe you started right out as a coach, but somewhere coaching had to come into play. Where does track and field coaching start for you?
I always say I was tricked in the track and field. I think I've talked to a few other coaches, and a few of them have similar stories. So I played basketball in high school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, freshman year of high school. I ran in the bus home. So I went to Creekmont High School in Illinois. I ran in the bus home, the after school bus, leaving basketball practice. And one of my neighbors lived in the same neighborhood as me. He said, "Hey, you should do track, stay in shape for basketball." I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." I never heard of track and field until my freshman year of high school. So I grew up in the city of Chicago, and track in the city, especially those times, wasn't prevalent at all. It is growing a lot now, which I'm really happy to know. But so when I moved out to the suburbs, Josh said, "Hey, you do track?" And I was like, "All right, that's fine." And I go out with the sprinters. My first day track practice is a 3-mile run. That's my first day, and I loved it. I loved it ever since. I was out there. I was the kid out there in basketball shoes, and I loved it from that day. I did starting blocks in Illinois in March or February, so it's freezing cold outside. I loved every single day of it. I loved being outside.
Now, that's not the answer I thought you were going to give when you said my first day of practice was a 3-mile run. That's how we get rid of people from track and field, is we just do the 3-mile, and if you come back, great, maybe you deserve it. But you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yep. So my first year I was a sprinter. I wasn't good at all at sprinting. I don't even know. I ran like a 58-second quarter mile or something like that, 62, something like that. I have no idea. But I loved it. But we had great sprinters on the team. A guy named KJ Franklin. I was just all that watching him run and jump and stuff like that. So it was just always fun to me. Then I got tricked again. "Oh, you should do cross country to stay in shape for basketball." Like, "Oh man, that's a great idea." So now I'm a sophomore in high school, and I'm still outside in basketball shoes. I get hurt the first meet, and then I think I ran like 1956, like my first ever 5K with no training. Right, not that bad, right?
Yeah,
First,
right.
first time and stuff like that, and I just loved it. And then eventually, I got some shoes, and some seniors on the team got me some spikes, and it just started rolling from there. Then eventually, come junior year, I stopped playing basketball. And I just did cross country and track throughout. And Coach O'Donnell was my high school coach. In my office, I still have a picture of me, Josh, and Coach O'Donnell still in my office. I think it was a picture from junior year or something like that. I've had that picture since junior year of high school, and I keep that picture with me no matter where I go, because I think that's honestly where it all started for me.
Well, we're going to get into coach for sure, because that's obviously special. I love that. But, it's interesting to set the picture here. You're talking about growing up in the Chicago area, which is very much like Kentucky and Indiana in the sense of this is basketball country.
Yeah.
It's definitely not track country in that respect. Why? What was it about it that you dropped a sport that you'd been playing for quite a while. In
Hmm.
fact, you were basing your other stuff off of that, like, oh, it'll help me with basketball. Oh, okay, I'll go do that. So I mean,
Hmm.
and then it flipped, and we was like, okay, something with track captured your heart and your passion more than basketball.
I think it was I think having some success helped
Sure.
a lot. I think um my freshman year and on my high school team, it's only six of us, 6 or 8 of us on the whole team.
Wow.
So, and we finished second at conference. I ran far south. I was a sprinter at the time. We finished second at conference, but I just remember like the team like crying upset. And that stuck with me to this day. Like losing that close stuck with me like to today as a coach and stuff like that. So, um, I can't believe we lost to Rich East. Like that still haunts me. But so we lost and I don't even know like far south and varsity. Like I still don't know this, but I still feel like I lost. Like I didn't contribute and stuff like that. And then then cross country came. I ran far south that cross country race and I finished third. I lost to the Thorn Co-ops, which to this day I still think they're cheaters, by the way, because they combine three of like the largest schools in the state of Illinois and they make one cross country team. That's crazy. So I lost to them. I finished third in that far south race, and I was like, all right. And I just started, training and training, and just fell in love with it. And then in basketball, I didn't grow. I've been 6'2" since like seventh grade,
Mm,
and then I stopped growing, and everybody else kept growing, and I was like, I'm having success over here, and
mhm.
these people are now 6'7", 6'8".
Right.
So
You
so then I
start
just
you started out as a center and kept
yeah.
not growing into a guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at that time, like nobody was, I like didn't learn how to dribble or anything like that. Like that skill wasn't ever taught to me and things like that. So I went with the more success. But that also led me into coaching at the
Mhm.
same time. So come my junior year of high school, I coached our sophomore team. Um, um, like Laquan Treadwell was on that team that I coached. He was a receiver for the Minnesota. He ended up being
Okay.
drafted by the Minnesota Vikings and stuff like that. So my junior year of high school, I'm coaching the sophomore team and stuff like that. So I'm doing cross country. We did indoor track in Illinois.
Mhm.
Um, and then at the same time, so like I'm coaching the sophomore basketball team as well. Helping. We had a sophomore coach. I'm helping him out, but I was doing a lot of the work, by the way. Um,
How did that come about? I mean, that's a young age to start,
ye-
especially a
um,
guy who didn't do track his whole life. Like you're still
yeah,
new to track at this point, even.
yeah. Um, Support. It's coach. Uh, Rocky Hill was the varsity coach, and I just went to him like, "Hey, can I help out with the freshman and sophomore team and stuff like that?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right." And he said, "Yeah." So I still travel with the back. I still do all of my track practice, and then do my workout. Hurry up, get my workout done. Hop on the bus to go to the sophomore. With travel with them, and I sat on the bench and stuff like that. And I remember I coached against favorite game I coached against was against Homewood Flossmoor. And we beat them in basketball. And if you know Homewood Flossmoor, like we beat them in basketball, that was a huge achievement.
Mhm.
And at that same day, the head coach, he was sick, he was just under the weather, he was sick. Like it was before COVID, so you still go to work sick before so
Yeah.
like he was sick, but he was out of it. So like I remember like I was like calling the plays and I got to do subs and timeouts and stuff that whole game and things like that. And it was great. And I think from there I was like, and we won. And I was like, more success happened and stuff like this. And I was like, oh, I kind of like winning and things like that. So, and I think that was like my first, um, start at coaching
Yeah, like
and
taste
falling
of
up.
it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So once that happened, I haven't looked back since junior year of high school.
What was it, the difference between athlete and coach is a very purposeful difference between selfish and selfless. When you're an athlete, you have to be selfish, right? You have to
Yeah.
take in what coach is saying so that I can become better, things like that. As a coach, it's how do I make others better? That's hard. That's hard for a lot of people, but not everybody can coach, right? But even harder for a 16, 17-year-old kid. A 16, 17-year-old kid can be very forgiven that they're selfish, right? I mean, you're 16, 17, you don't know anything else. And here you are, you seem to be getting more joy out of helping others and helping the team win.
Yeah, and I think that comes from I think my growing up. So, I lived in a house when I lived like from third to fifth grade in Chicago. I probably lived in a house with want to say it was probably 18 of us in the house. Like
Mhm.
it was my great grandma, my step great grandmother. So my mom moved in with her boyfriend. It was probably like 18 of us in a 3-bedroom house, basement and stuff like that.
Wow.
So I never had, an opportunity to be selfish and stuff
Mhm.
like that. It was always, make sure it's enough food for somebody else. It was always make sure this, everybody ate and things
Okay.
like that. That was just always my growing up. That was just always my background and things like that.
Yeah,
And also,
you didn't have my bedroom or my even my
right,
closet, my clothes and my shoes.
yeah,
Those probably yeah.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah, same,
man.
yeah. I've never had that in my life. Probably honestly until about 2 years ago, honestly. So, um, and I was also like never the best athlete. So I was never like the best cross country runner, the best track athlete. I was always like, I don't think I have a teammate who will ever say that they outworked me. Like even my teammates always say I was the hardest working and stuff like that. Uh, so just always like being like the number 2 guy or number 3 guy, stuff like that. But always wanted, that team trophy, that team success. Um, I think made me like really want to, get into coaching where you like, I feel like I could take that passion and focus that into coaching. And, I've had some career, I wasn't sure how to get into coaching at one point. So, I went to law school for a semester and that was miserable.
Well, don't fast forward on us yet because I want to go back to this photo you have. Did you say Coach O'Donnell?
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated with, and this is why I'm such a huge track coach advocate, is because I know and have seen and experienced the lifelong impact coaches make on young people. So for you today to be an adult and you still have a picture of your high school coach, that's meaningful. That's
hmm
obviously someone who affected your life positively. So tell me more about that. Why is that man's picture still in your office? You made it very poignant to say, hey, it's still in my office today. Like that was a very big, like I still have that right now.
Yep.
What impact did he have on you?
Um, Consistency in my life. Um, he was always there for me. He'd give me like rides home, feed me. He was always there.
Sounds like he cared about you as a person way more than you as an athlete.
Definitely, definitely.
Is he still with us? Do you
Yeah, he's racing Chicago Marathon this Saturday.
Oh, well, okay, so he's a crazy guy. Okay, that tells
Oh
me a lot
yeah,
about him right there.
yeah. Go look at his Facebook. You'll see his hair. He's crazy. Definitely.
Do I really like to give challenges a lot of times. We talk about topics like this a lot. And I feel like you have just I get the sense that you have, but I want to make sure. Have you told coach recently the impact he's made on you?
Yeah, yeah,
Good.
I've been any chance I get to go to like HF, home with Flossmore, I mean, I go talk to his kids, and I still go out for runs with them to today, and
Oh, yeah.
we still text.
Oh, good.
Uh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure he knows.
it's real quick and easy for us to have people in our life that are special and think like, oh well, I'll tell them that I love them. I'll tell them how much of impact he made tomorrow, and sometimes tomorrow never comes, and then sometimes it's too late. So I always want to make sure, hey, are we telling our people, so the what do they say? Give them their flowers
Your flowers
today
for it. Yep.
before you're actually physically giving flowers in a funeral or something like that. So that's awesome. I love the impact he made on you. It's obviously very staggering. Um, and very influential. When you were going through graduation and looking at the next step, you were starting to touch into that. What was the plan? You talked about you even did some law school. What was the plan going to the next level? Was it to become a teacher? Was it to
Yep.
become a businessman? What was it?
Yep. After to my post collegiate. So
After high school, going into college.
after
Okay.
high school, yeah, I was a physical education major.
Okay.
So I was gonna teach like Coach O'Donnell did.
Yeah.
Um, that was the plan. End up transferring schools.
Mhm.
Um, Went to Clark University up in Dubuque, Iowa.
Mhm.
Um, where I graduated my undergrad from, and I met my philosophy teachers and stuff like that. And I took a philosophy class, and it was fun. I got to read, I got to hear different ideas and different ways to think about processes. And I think that helped me with coaching as well. I started to realize, oh, it's a lot of ways to do the same thing, stuff like
Mm,
that. And my dad's always been he always pressed me about how important math class was. Different ways to. He always told me, like, the goal is to problem solve. It's not necessarily to like learn this type of math, like
yeah.
algebra, calculus, algebra two, geometry. It doesn't matter. Just figure out how to solve a problem. And I think that goes, into my philosophy as well.
That's a smart dad, because now as adults we realize what life is. Maybe almost any profession is problem solving, but in school we're tend to taught rote, learn 5 + 5 is 10, and learn the grammar structure and learn the planets of the solar system. It's like, oh man,
Yeah,
that doesn't really do anything for me. Learning how to solve a problem, that's what life and work and professions are
yeah,
all about. That's a really smart advice from dad.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just took all of those things together, and turned that into a coach.
So as you graduate from Clark, what did you end up? You got a physical education major? Is that what you actually?
Yeah, so I ended up double majoring. I was a physical education and philosophy, and then I took
Yeah.
like
So you
the
got a philosophy major too.
yep,
Wow.
um, and then did like the health and coaching endorsements and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, then went to law school for a semester. I went down to Southern Illinois, Carbondale.
Hmm.
So I was volunteer coaching down there.
Okay.
Um,
Was this the first post collegiate coaching? Was
yeah,
volunteering at Carbondale?
well, I finished up so I did my fifth year, and I just had a cross country season left.
Mm.
So then I'm student teaching, and then my coach at Clark, Adam Henders, he gave me like full autonomy over like the distance runners and stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm student teaching, and then I'm at my alma mater volunteering that
Right.
semester. Um, Adam he's about to leave Clark. I think his wife got a job somewhere else, so he's leaving Clark. And then Mason, who is he took over the head coach at Clark, but he's now the throws and jumps coach at Loras College.
Yeah.
Um,
I was wondering if
so
I don't know too many Masons. I was like, I wonder if it's the same Mason. Yeah, he's good. I love him.
yeah, no, I love Mason.
Yeah.
And I told him I was looking at Southern Illinois for Carbondale. He was like, "Oh, I know the distance coach down there, David Beecham." Um, so
Hmm.
and at first, uh, like they was like skeptical, like letting me like volunteer, and I'm like, "I'm volunteering, I'm working for free. Like, what's the problem?" Like
What's so
he's like, "Oh,
skeptical?
yeah," and then but then he started talking to me like, "Oh, like yeah, people don't show up and they be inconsistent." And I didn't even know that was a thing to like not show up to something. That like blows my
Right.
mind. Like, what do you mean not show up? Like,
Right.
it's track practice. Doesn't
Yeah.
everybody show up? So so that happened and stuff like that. But then I didn't like law school at all. It was so boring.
Yeah.
I was so bored. But I was at the same time I'm volunteering at Carbondale. And then he leaves Carbondale after the cross country season. And I'm like, well, I hate law school and Beecham's not here. So I just emailed Chicago State, Coach Craig Collins,
Mm.
and I'm like, and I'm from Chicago. My dad, he owns an apartment building probably 4 or 5 miles from campus. Um, I'm like, can I come volunteer there? And he's like, yeah, we need the help. Come on. So I did that. Chicago State honestly came down to Carbondale for the first meet there. I put my clothes on the bottom of Chicago State bus. That's how I moved because I don't have any money at this time. Like I'm poor at this time. I'm in law school. I'm poor. I'm not working. I'm volunteer coaching. Um, I put all my stuff in like the bottom of Chicago State bus, um, and I go back to, and he takes it to Chicago State. My dad meets him at Chicago State campus, takes my stuff off the bus, takes it to the apartment. I have my car. A week later, I drive back to Chicago. Chicago State let me take my finals for Carbondale. Like they proctored the exam for me
Mm.
down in Carbondale, so I got my exams proctored and started at Chicago State.
I love this image of the meet's over. Kids are putting their bags and spikes and implements under
Yep,
the bus,
yep.
and here you
And
are,
it's
with your
yep,
boxes
boxes,
and
yep. And it's a guy like the team never met
yeah.
before. Like they never see me. I never met Craig face to face. Like so.
I'm sorry, just the image because yeah,
No.
in my head it's at night, so everybody's just
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey,
Your image is
do you know who that guy is? I don't know who that guy is. What's he
yep,
doing?
yep. Whatever you're envisioning is exactly how that story happened.
That's awesome, man. You mentioned Craig Collins, a Gill podcast alum. I
Hmm.
love Craig to death, running
Yep.
the Gately Center there in Chicago, doing an amazing job there as well.
Yeah.
What I'm curious, real quick, before we go on to Chicago State, I just love that image. What 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 was the interest of going to law school first, and then something had to
Um.
disconnect and like, oh, this
Yeah.
I didn't have this right because this is really boring or whatever.
Um. I was a huge Reggie Bush fan, so I researched USC, and then when you go to like the staff, and this is, I think I always wanted to go to USC or something like that, because I loved Reggie Bush. Um, I also don't like college football, but I loved Reggie Bush that
Hmm.
way.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't know how that connection happened, but it did. But the AD at the time, he was a lawyer, or he had a JD.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, to be an athletic director, I have to go to law school and stuff like that, and that's what's going to get me to USC and things like that. So
Wow.
I think that's how like my brain made the connection, and that could be the
Yeah.
philosophy major where we just make these weird connections to
Right.
think.
Right. But
So
you had no idea what law school entailed, so you didn't like have like, oh, this is gonna be fun, and then get there and you're like, oh my god, it's reading 24/7.
yeah, and it wasn't even the reading part that got me. It was, this might sound wrong. It was listening to so many other people wrong opinions all the
Mm.
time.
Hmm.
I say wrong opinions like strongly, like they were
Yeah.
wrong. They were wrong and I was right.
Hmm.
So, but I think that, and after I started hearing that, I was like, I don't want to work with these people
Hmm.
ever. So,
Yeah, I don't want to work with them, and I don't want to become them. So
yeah,
let's
yeah,
go. And you're enjoying track, you're enjoying
yeah.
coaching,
Hmm.
and so you go to Chicago State, great school, and Craig did a great job there. So you eventually you move in parts. You move on the bus, and then you get your car, and you actually
Yep,
go up to Chicago State.
yep. So we did that, and I was at Chicago State. I think it was 2 years, and I think we did. I think we did phenomenal with what we had.
Yeah, tough place for sure. I
Yeah,
don't think anybody would disagree with that. Yeah.
I think the 4x1 that we was able to manage. Even we had a few really good distance runners, and that's back when we were in a WAC conference, the WAC.
Mm.
So we're flying. We had to fly everywhere to like for
Hmm.
conference, for cross country and stuff like that. But I think we did great. Um, and so at this time, I'm driving for Uber and to make some money,
Hmm.
living with dad. I have 2 degrees, and then then I just go in the NCAA marketplace, and you know, you apply for, I'm a young coach, you apply for whatever jobs
Hmm.
on there. So I might have a screenshot of my phone. I think every year I probably used to apply for like 160, 150 jobs a year. Like no
Uh,
matter what, no matter where they was, you can go in there now. They have like ticket manager jobs at
hmm.
universities and stuff like that. I'm applying for everything, and no phone calls, nothing. I'm getting nothing. And
So
then,
let's stay right there because let's find out the mindset here because I'm interested. You've got a well degree, yeah, physical
mhm,
education with a philosophy major as well. That's this isn't you didn't go major in tiddlywinks here
yeah,
from a good university. You're a talented, obvious hard worker. The bus moving tells me that okay, I'm not going to let anything stand in my way. I'm going to figure it
hmm,
out type of person.
yeah,
You don't have a full-time job. That can be hard on you.
hmm.
You're applying to 150 plus jobs and not getting anything. That can be hard on you. What's your mindset regarding whether it's coaching or just in general? How are you feeling at this moment?
Um, Problem solving. What's the next step? How do I now set myself apart? So,
Hmm.
I do my um what is it, the USATF level 1. I do that. I get my strength and conditioning certification. And it's the same and I go through it. So I'm in Chicago. I drive up to Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Um Boo is teaching this class.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this. So, but I don't have any money at this time as well. So it's a 2-day event. So I have two options. I could drive back and forth to Chicago for day 1 and day 2, or I could just sleep in my car. So I just slept in my car for my strength and conditioning certification, day 2. Boom, knocked that out. And I like sneak into a hotel. I eat breakfast that morning because hotels don't really check. That's what
No,
I
no,
found
that's
out.
a little known secret. I'm a big
Yeah, yeah. I try
hotel
not to
guy.
like say that
Yeah, yeah,
publicly
yeah, yeah,
because I
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
that to like really get out. So
Yeah, no,
I
it's
do that.
kind
Go.
of weird that there's not a real big good check system there.
It
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
right.
I
Like,
I stay in
yeah,
100 nights a year in a hotel, and I'm always like, what if this guy's actually staying here?
yeah. So I was that guy. I wasn't, but they have free breakfast, so I'm going. Um, so I do that. Do my day 2 certification, and I'm applying for jobs. Still nothing. So I'm like, all right, well, there's this level 2 thing.
You
So
don't seem down, depressed, anxious. You just seem like when I asked you that, you said problem solving. I've got to keep moving. How do I
I
problem
mean,
solve?
I had, I have my, uh, I had a good support system. I have my auntie, I have my dad, I have my mom. So I'm okay. Like, I have a place to live. I have a pillow. I have a bed. My dad bought that building, so I have a closet and stuff like that. So I'm okay. Like I'm okay.
But that's important. That's why I wanted to figure this out, because there's other people out there right now that are going through something maybe similar, and they're
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, how come Stacy, like, I'm freaking out over here, he seemed to be fine. I think that's the key right there, is the support system, the people that you
Yeah,
have around you, whether it's your friends network or your family network, that seem to be
yeah.
pretty critical at this point.
Yep, and I mean, same. I have my friends. I've had the same
Mm-hmm.
group of friends since high school and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they've all it's
Are
just support.
you still leaning on Coach O'Donnell at all at this point, whether it's emotional
Uh,
support or just
at at the
advice?
at this point, no, because he
Mm-hmm.
can't know I'm failing.
Mm. You can't let him down.
No,
Mm.
so
Which, now, as removed from this, is
yeah,
ridiculous, right? Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm 30. I'm 31 now. At the time, I'm 23.
Yeah, that's
So
pride was talking back then. When in
exactly,
reality, Coach O'Donnell was like, "Oh man, call me. You need
yeah,
to. I'm here for you when you're at your lowest, not necessarily at
yep.
your highest." So yeah,
Yep.
that's
So,
interesting.
but at this time, I'm still going out running. Running with them. We had a kid on the when I'm at Chicago State. There was a kid on the team who went to Creed I was like teammates with, and he coached and
Mm,
stuff like that. So we
mm-hmm.
had like something to still talk about on our
Connection.
runs and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like some other connections. Um, so it was fine, and then I end up uh, I go out to California for my level 2.
Level two. Yeah. What where
Level
at?
2.
Where do they do it out there?
I
That
want
was
to
it.
say Long Beach.
Okay. All right.
I
Mm-hmm.
want to say it was Long Beach.
Yeah.
And once again, like I'm going to you. You're not telling me I'm not going to USC. Like
Yeah.
it's like so. I'm like, oh, I get to finally go to California. So this is my shot. Like I'm in California now. So and then I love like this gets me to this gonna end up gets me to Madonna as well. But I love Eminem. I love Dr. Dre.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that. So I'm in California. Um, I'm in Cali to get my level 2, and Salem in West Virginia
Mm-hmm.
offers me um offers me a GA position. So I'm not getting any. I'm talking. I didn't get any GA
It's
positions when
something.
I'm
Yeah, it's
applying.
something.
Right.
Okay.
So I accepted right away. Yeah, definitely. Like no conversation, nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 100%. So then I go to California and I stay at like this Airbnb for the first day or so. Um, I get a rental car and I'm saving up my Uber money because like I really want to go to California. So like I stay at this Airbnb, first time using Airbnb, and this is room. I remember I'm staying in this room with like 12 people in like this Airbnb room, like it was like double bunked and stuff like that. Um, and then I go outside to sit on the porch. Uh, I get a Michigan phone call, comes to my phone, and it's Steve Pacucci. He was the head coach at Morehead State at this time, and uh, it's a part time position. I think it paid $9,760 a year. Um, and so now I'm like, oh crap, I have 2 offers, right? So I go do my level 2. I meet and this is my first time like in a room to like really network and feel
Yeah,
some
it's
confidence.
awesome. Yeah.
I finally have something to talk about. Like level 1 was in Illinois. I remember the room. It was like a dark room. It was like do your homework and stuff like that. And that's how level 1 was and stuff like that.
Where
Uh,
in Illinois was that?
I think it was at Benedictine
Okay, all right.
College.
I taught several level ones in Illinois, and I was like, oh, that'd be funny if you were in class, but I
that
didn't do
would
it.
be.
Yeah.
I think his name was Dave who did it. Maybe Dave was my level 2, but he still emails us like,
Yeah.
get
Dave
more.
Ballar.
I think so.
Yeah, he's done a lot of them.
So I'm in Cali, and then I'm debating between Moorhead and
options, baby.
Yeah, now I have options now, and now I don't have people like I don't have any like real like collegiate coaching friends at this time and stuff. So now I'm at the level 2.
Right.
There's other people now who does have a little bit of collegiate experience, and it's a bunch of young guys, low 20s, and the range in that room, ranged a lot. I think what's his name, Tin Man, he sat right next to me, and realized this: I know nothing. I don't know anybody. I don't have a coaching philosophy book. I don't have a training program. I don't know anything.
Right.
I know be nice to people, run fast. That is how you win. That is all I know.
Hey, that is the name of your future book right there. That is, come on. If you do those two things right, a lot of things fall into place. So that's awesome.
So I'm doing my level 2 endurance as well. So I'm in this room. So we talk. You go back to the dorm rooms and talking to people. I'm like, oh, Moorhead or Salem, and then one guy looks at me like, you go to Moorhead? Like, what's the conversation here? Like, what are you talking about? And I don't do research at all, like at this time about this, and I should do research. I'm a philosophy major. That's what I'm supposed to know how to do.
Yeah, you almost become a lawyer.
Yeah. So I'm like, so then the guy just said that to me. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Moorhead, and I just called Steve back, like, yeah, I'll accept the position, stuff like that. I finished out my level 2, and then so this is in Kentucky. So also I spent some time in Kentucky. I did my first year of college at Kentucky State. So so I know the state. I know Lexington and Louisville and Frankfurt, and I did not know Moorhead.
little remote.
Yeah. So, and the first time I meet Steve, so realize I'm only making now $9,760 for the year. So Steve calls me like before. He was like, hey, you got a place to live? I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even fully think of this yet. He was like, the strength and conditioning coach, Tony Bland, he's like, hey, he needs a roommate, and it's in a trailer. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't care. Like I don't care. Like I just want to coach. Like I don't care where I live, the environment. Like I just want to coach. Like I don't care about any of these other stuff that's important in my life now. But then like yeah, I don't care. Just as long as I can still coach. Yeah. So he's like, oh, and he had an extra bed, so he like gave me like his mattress and his bed and stuff like that. So I had my trailer, I had my roommate, I had my $280 bi-weekly check, and I was fine. And like I was fine. And I think that's where I really learned how to coach people, not events, but people.
What do you mean by that?
The coaching people part. So Steve tricked me. I've been tricked a lot of my life, is what I'm realizing.
You start figuring out, like, wait a minute, here's the theme.
Yeah. So there's these sprinters on the team. So at Moorhead, we no men, just women sprinters. It's like there's one, Maya Andrews, and then it's like then we had Emma, who's like a 400, 800 sprinter as well. He's like, all right, you're gonna primarily like coach the sprints. I've never coached sprints in my life.
You just got down level 2 endurance.
Yeah, like I've never done this ever. I'm like, what? So I come from like this endurance background, endurance training and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, I'm just tweak some things and see if it works and stuff like that. I think Maya was like a 62-second girl. I think, she ended up, getting down to 59 or something like that. So I'm like, oh, and then it's like, all right, you need to recruit like 4 sprinter girls. Here's $5,000. And I don't know how scholarship, I know nothing. I don't know how scholarshiping works. So I'm like, all right, fine, I got it. I recruit 4 girls that year and I signed all 4. So I'm batting 1,000. Year 1 recruiting. I'm like,
this is easy.
We coached the girls and stuff, and I think it was a really, really good group of girls that came in that trusted a 23-year-old coach in Moorhead, Kentucky, to come sprint. and and we had, we had some success. I think the goal that year was to break 4 in the 4x4 or something like that. And I
Mhm.
think we went like 358, and we did it. So you know, check.
You're still at a point, I get the sense, where you could be out of coaching, meaning you still have other options. You're
Yeah.
young. It's not like you're fully fledged into a full-time,
Hmm.
well-paid position there. Is your mindset still 100% going forward coaching, or is there anything in, any little whisper in your ear of like, hey man, you got a PE degree, you could go, work to be a teacher somewhere.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah. You.
multi-talented, you can go do a lot of other things. Any whisperings like that? Or
Yeah.
are you
You.
still?
Yeah. I mean, I think you always had those whispers in your head because the McDonald's in town was, I think it was 7.25 an hour. I do the math off. I work there 20 hours a week. I make more money coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
you start doing math and stuff, but I just put my head down and just stayed with it and kept at it, and then
What was it now? Obviously, we can talk about the negative points of being someone who works at McDonald's, but let's not forget we do depend on those people, fast food
oh no
restaurants,
no I
etc.
love I
No,
love
no,
to
but what I'm
yeah.
getting at is, so what was it about coaching? What was it about, like, hey, I know I can go make more money over here, but man, that would mean I could not do this. What was it about coaching at this point that you're like, oh yeah, this is why I'm willing to make $200 every 2 weeks because of this aspect?
The relationships with people, with the
Mm-hmm.
athletes, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing how much they kind of really depend on you in a sense, so you feel like you never want to let them down.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that group needed me at practice. They they deserved my attention. And especially at that time, I think at that time they deserved my undivided attention. And I know long term I needed to give them my undivided attention so I can learn and so I can grow as a coach and stuff. So I needed to be 100 at that time in my life. I needed to be 100% invested,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the entirety of the process. Um, and that's just what happened.
So how long were you there? And you said you learned how to
So
coach people there.
yeah, so I learned how to coach, the people there, and we had a really solid, group of distance runners, and that's a young group of sprinters, um, and then um, uh, then my son was due to be born in August,
Hmm.
so now I'm like,
It changes things.
changes things a lot, right? So I tell Steve, and you know, Steve supports me like, hey, whatever you need to do, Now at this point, it's like you have a son about to be born, so um, and it's the same time like I'm applying to jobs and things like that. I'm still not getting a lot of hits,
Hmm.
like and also like during the summer, I'm working like this youth triathlon camp in Chicago. It's called Tri Masters Chicago.
Hmm.
Um, that's a shameless plug. It's a great group, great triathlon group. Young kids come out. It's a summer camp. Bernard Lyles runs the program. He's been doing it for like 30 years,
Oh wow,
something like that. It's amazing.
that's
We
cool.
take the inner city kids and teach them how to distance run, bike. We teach them how to bike.
Yeah,
We teach them how to swim and stuff like that. It's amazing.
that's cool.
Um, there's where I like played around with drills with the 8-year-olds and learned how to like. I figured if I could teach an 8-year-old how to A skip and B skip, I could teach anybody how to A
That's a
skip
good
and B
point.
skip.
Yeah.
So I used to go there in the summer and work those camps and stuff. And that's where like I learned the X's and O's of how to like the Q's and stuff on how to like talk to people and things, how
Mm.
to talk to like the younger group like that, and learn how to transfer that to the collegiate athlete. So when my son's about to be born, um, this is how I end up at Madonna. I I apply to Madonna and I see Madonna's like 3 hours, 3.5 hours away from Chicago.
Hmm.
They don't call me back at this time. Um, I I go up to Ann Arbor, same thing. I stay at this Airbnb again. Stay at the Airbnb in Ann Arbor, and I just drive up to Madonna campus. No interview, no phone call, nothing. I go outside the campus and I just pray because I need a full-time job. I go back home, go back to the camp. Scott calls me. Hey, you interested in a job at Madonna? What events do you coach? He said, it looks like you coach the distance events. We have a distance coach and a sprint coach. Because my resume still is like locked on, like it looks like more of a distance coach and stuff like that. So he calls me, he's like, I know I can coach the sprints, jumps, hurdles. Never coached the jumper, hurdler, sprinter, thrower in my never. Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, no problem. I can do it. Um, and then I get the in person interview. I get the in person interview. I get to the campus, and I'm like, all right, this it's like end of July at this time. My son's born in August.
Mm.
I'm like, this has to work. So I mean, I go, all right, I'm researching everything. I can tell you the Felician values. I can tell you every single detail about Madonna at this time. I can tell you tuition. Um, I taught myself how to scholarship during that 2 day period at the hotel and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, this is how like I come like really really organized with everything a head coach needs to be.
Mhm.
Like I could go to the interview and I'm like, and he went through all that. He said, well, what's your goal? I'm like, and to be clear, not to bash any coach, I love Indiana Tech. I said I want to beat Indiana Tech
Mhm.
because I'm an NAI guy and they're
Mhm.
dominating at this time, and
Mhm.
they're in the conference. I said I want to beat Indiana Tech. That's the goal. And he said, all right. Uh, Also during this, I still don't even know the pay to Madonna. I
Mhm.
just know it's full time and it has insurance.
Yeah,
It
right.
has health insurance
Yeah.
and stuff. So like after I get home, my dad asked me like, "Oh, how much does it pay?" I'm like, "Oh crap, I don't know."
You're like, that's a good question.
So, so I call Scott. No, Scott calls me to offers me the position. He's like, um, um, do you want to accept? And I was like, I don't know the pay. He's like, oh, and he tells me to pay. And then I'm like, all right, I don't know yet. And then I like hang up the phone. And I'm like, I feel like I should just say yes because I don't have a job.
Mhm.
And my dad was like, oh, just ask them for like 3 more thousand and see what happens.
Mhm.
I called back and asked for like $3 more thousand and they said yeah. And became a head coach.
Okay. So a lot of people are listening right now and they're like, what in the world is going on? Let's unpack a few of these things.
Mm-hmm.
You, when you applied and you hadn't even heard anything back, you go up to Michigan and go on campus to pray about the position. And
Mm-hmm.
you're in, let's be real here. Let's paint the full picture here. You're back against the wall a little bit here because again, it's one thing to be unemployed when you're single and things like that. It's another thing when you're not making enough money to survive and you have a child on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you are I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're at desperation mode here of I need a job.
Yep.
You had applied for a lot of jobs in your life up to this point. What was it about this job that I mean, that's a pretty, you didn't say, if you would have said, so I'm at my house, Mike, and I pray over this position, and we're going to get into faith because this is obviously something
Yeah.
that's big for you here as well. And I prayed over the position. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's something men and women of faith do. That makes sense. You felt the need, the urge, the desire to actually be on campus and pray. I hadn't heard you mention that. You didn't do that at Moorhead. You didn't do that at Salem. You didn't do it. I heard you at any other jobs. What was it about this one that you're like, no, I want to be on campus to pray?
I don't have an answer. Something just told me to do it. I just got in my 2007 Camry, which I still have, and
Oh,
it's still
nice.
loyal and it's still faithful. Um, just got in the car and I just did it. Something, internally just spoke to me and said, just go up there, see what happens. You have nothing to lose. When you have nothing to lose, you could do anything at this time.
Okay, I agree with that. What do you have to gain though? Did you think you were going to run into the athletic director? I mean, prayer. The good thing about prayer,
Yeah.
right, is it's not proximity based. Meaning
Yeah.
your prayer
Yeah.
matters in
Yeah.
Miami just as much as it does
Yeah.
in Madonna, right?
Yeah. I think honestly, I thought I would run into Eminem because it was in Detroit. It was near Detroit. Like to be honest, like I might meet him. He might be somewhere. And, like and that was so important to me as well. Which and I finally just saw him in person a couple weeks ago at
I
50
was
Cent
about to say, I
concert.
hope this
So
story ends with you've at least met this
yes, two
guy.
weeks ago I went to 50 Cent concert, VIP ticket, and he wasn't even on the docket to be there. I
Oh,
knew he
cool.
was going to be there and stuff like that. So like honestly, like it was like all these small things, like the Cali USA level 2. I drove in Compton. Like I was going to be there. Like, so like I would go to Ann Arbor. I don't know how far Ann Arbor is from Detroit or any of the suburbs in the area. I don't know any of that, but it was like all of these things lined up, and it told me like you're supposed to be here.
Love it.
Like,
Love it. Love it. Okay. So talk to us. We've kind of been not skirting around the issue, but obviously faith seems to
hmm
play a big important part of your life, or at least in this event. Tell us more about what faith means to you for your life, coaching, your whole wherever it shows itself up for you.
I'm not a super religious person at all. Um, but I do listen to like that inner voice on the inside. Same thing going back to my dad. It's right or wrong. Like growing up in the city of Chicago, it was if you feel like something bad is about to happen, it was always go the other way. So uh, I felt like something good can happen if I was there or
Is that
here at
instincts
Madonna.
or is that faith?
And and I think that was maybe a combination, but more a combination. But I think it was more faith in that moment.
Okay.
Um, but most of me for myself, I usually based a lot of other decisions off of more instinct based. I think those who do have a connection within each other and things like that.
Yeah, as I say, there's
Um,
certainly
yeah.
they touch each
Oh,
other in some form or
yeah.
fashion. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I think a lot of like my decision making is more instincts and gut feelings. But I graduated from a Catholic university,
Mm.
Clark University. So, you know, 4 years at a Catholic university, like you hear things, you learn things, you gain new insight of things, and then, add the philosophy component with the religion component, and those things touch each other as well. So I think it's just like a combination of, me having this weird pot of things that happened,
Hmm.
that helped, set up that moment.
I love the openness you have to ideas and thoughts and actions. I mean, some of us are very closed off and very closed-minded in that sense. You seem to be very open of like, all right, well, at least entertain it and see
Yeah.
how it might work with the rest of the stuff that I know.
hmm
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so again, listeners are listening and they're like, wait a minute. So you have very little coaching experience up to this point, and you get the head coaching gig at Madonna.
Yep.
Now, my favorite question to ask everybody when they get their first head coaching job, I think I can answer it, but I'm going to ask it for you first. So were you prepared to be a head coach?
No.
Okay, good. I was waiting.
No.
I was waiting. I was like, boy, if Stacy says yes, I swear to God.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So how do you get the job? So, sometimes be careful what you ask for, right? You put in for the head coaching job. Okay, it's yours, Stacy. And now it's like, oh crap, I got to do the job, which means I got to learn the job. So what was it like that first semester or so of inundated with all the things you now have to do as a head coach?
We
Oh,
won our first.
and a brand new father.
Yep. Yep. New father, brand new coach, and we won our first national championship that semester in cross country. So.
What? This is some fairy tale here. Hold up now. Was Madonna really good and you took over a really good team?
Yeah. Yeah. So before I
Okay.
got there,
I'm
they
not trying to
finished.
take away
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
from you
Yeah.
in your first
So
semester. I'm just trying to build the
yeah,
picture here.
they finished 10th in 2017, second in 2018. 95% of those women come back. 2019, uh, Coach Jordy, he's the head cross country coach, and I wasn't even on paper like the assistant cross country coach, but I was at every single practice. Like I was running with the girls. I took what I learned from Moorhead,
Mhm.
right? And Steve taught me how to run. So I didn't even really know how to really run for real until I was at Moorhead State. So I just took those on like how to like really run, and how to be competitive at a practice, how to bring intensity up at practice, how to bring intensity down at a practice, how to make light of some situations, how to take some situations seriously. Um, and I took all of that from Moorhead, how to deal with people, and I brought that to Madonna.
Mm.
And I think, and Coach Jordan, right now we have like this great balance with each other and stuff like that. Throughout different seasons, through cross country season, I'm the lighter coach, and during track season, he's the lighter coach and stuff like that. So we just have that balance working with each other. So, and I think that's just what I brought to the team, just the lightness, and not taking it every single thing, every single moment so serious. Like we knew it was the goal to win nationals. We knew we had the team for it and stuff like that. But just bringing that balance. So like, yeah, it was definitely a fairy tale.
Yeah, athletically, you win a national title your very first semester. So literally months after you get there.
Hmm.
Uh, did you think like, oh man, this is easy?
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, that's exactly what goes through my head. Like, oh, you can do this all the time. So, so then we get um, second semester comes, and that was 2020.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm,
I have so NAI, we got through indoor and NAI, indoor nationals and
right.
stuff. So we're running, and at this time, we have our I think 9 girls qualify for nationals, and then we had 2 guys, um, Tony Floyd and Cortez Cunningham. Um, I think Tony finishes second in the 5K, and Cortez 200 sprinter, first year coaching sprints. He finishes third in the 200. Um, so and we finished 15th as a team.
Mhm,
Um, and COVID happens. We
mhm,
get I have like a week of practice, and then COVID happens. And for me, I think that helped me because now at this time, uh, I'm at home with my son all the time. Um, so I can spend more time parenting and being a
mhm,
father, especially to like a newborn.
mhm,
His mom she was working, so it was like it was great for me. Like I'm getting a coaching paycheck.
mhm,
I'm
mhm,
spending time with my son. Like this is perfect. Um, but then I also got to grow as a coach. I got to uh, make my pot a little bit bigger. So I got to read
mm,
um, Tony Holler in Illinois.
mhm,
Um, I feel terrible. I can't think of his name. Clyde Hart. I get to read Clyde Hart
mhm,
and other coaches, and now I'm just reading stuff, and I learn simply fast. I'm just reading. I'm reading magazines, and I'm just reading at this time, and just learning new stuff. The coaches collab on Facebook opens
mhm.
up. I'm on the Zoom calls. I'm reconnecting with some people from my level two, and at this time, at some point, I got my level two in sprints as well. So, I'm reading, I'm researching, I'm making my pot just a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and stuff like that. And if from that point, 2021 happened. 2020. Mhm.
Stay in the first year. So I hear you, um, just being a sponge when COVID hits, and so there's no more coaching. Everything slows down. You're pouring into your fatherhood. Bravo, check on that. That should be the first thing. I love that.
Yep.
And then you're sponging up, reading and interacting with Tony Holler. You're simply faster. Coaches collab, which was a godsend during this
Yeah.
time. What were you doing? And maybe it goes before. It should probably go before, all the way back to maybe your first day on the job. What were you doing? Because I want to make sure that we have a certain segment of audience that are not coaches yet. We have a good number of
Yeah.
athletes and things like that, and we want to make sure we're painting the right picture that coaching is not always. First of all, it's not always national titles. Just check right there, but it's not always being on the track or on the cross country course coaching. Especially as a head coach, you're scheduling, budgeting, personnel. You may be on other committees in your athletic department. It's
Mhm.
rules and governance, things like that. What are you doing through this time frame to before COVID, to grow as of that side of coaching?
So before COVID, what am I doing?
Yeah. So what do you do? How do
Um,
you're doing things you've never
listening.
done
Yeah.
before?
So
Yeah.
so I'm listening. I'm listening to the athletes. Like I'm writing. I'm once again, Steve taught me how to like at least write a calendar, at least plan out what you're doing.
Hmm.
So like so every month, like I set out my training calendar and stuff like that. The athletes running a workout, and during this first year, like I'm listening to the sprinters and stuff. Like I'm listening. They like RJ. He just graduated from our team. For my first year, he's like we did 300. He's like, yo, that's far. Like I remember that's the first thing he said that to me, and I'm like 300. That's not far, but I'm listening. And and so now I'm like, all right, you have to be happy to be. I know you have to be happy to be successful. I know that. Like, no matter what field you're in, like I think those two things work hand in hand for
Hmm.
for the most part. And it depends on like what you categorize success as.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm like, all right, let's just not do 300s anymore, RJ. That's fine. Um, and then we just didn't do 300s anymore and stuff like that. So now I'm tweaking the plans, and
Hmm.
then I'm just literally listening to athlete feedbacks on some of the workouts. I'm learning in real time and just, not. I can't be stuck in my way because I don't have a way.
Yeah,
So what
right.
do I don't have a way. So I'm not stuck in anything. I don't have any mentors at this time. I don't know any. I don't even know any sprint coaches. I
Hmm.
think, the coaches at Murray State, them and I like there's probably the most sprint coaches I've ever talked to, and I think that was mostly like a high in the back Kelsey, um,
Hmm.
and it was like besides that, like that was my only interaction with the sprint coach to be honest, and that's for my almost my entire life.
Hmm.
So I'm just listening to athletes' feedbacks and going from
You
there.
what about the non-coaching stuff? So you thought you were going to have an outdoor
Oh
season, so
yeah, yeah.
you had to schedule, you had a budget, you have
Oh,
scholarships. How are you learning and developing those skills?
um. So the budgeting part, the budgeting has always been easy. I've been poor my whole life, so budgeting is not hard when you've been poor your whole life. It's just stay poor.
That's so important for people who don't
So
understand how you grew up. That's extremely true. It's like, well, I've always used a penny pension, even when I finally get money, so I still penny
yeah,
pinch. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean that part to this day, like, isn't that's the
Hmm.
easiest part of the job to me is like
Hmm.
the budget and figure out how to move monies and how to
Hmm.
fundraise and like to me like that like I had to do this forever. Like yeah, throw that task at me any day. Um, I think the scholarship and I think I honestly just figured it out this year
Hmm.
because a lot of people, I always think. So I mostly only really worked with scholarship at the NAIA level, and the way we scholarship, I think, is better than the NCAA level
Yeah,
on how we.
walk us through that because I don't know if a lot of people know this.
Yeah. So on the NAIA level, you can basically it's basically like a D3 model and a D1 model, like combined into one. So you can take some kids and they could just receive like institutional aid, things like that. So if you have a kid, for example, who are need based on Pell Grant, a lot of times like I don't really have to scholarship them. Like they get enough institutional aid, um, where if I give them the track scholarship, it just takes away from the institutional aid. Um, Now it counts differently once you go to like the NA level to the athletes who you compete to a meet, but the goal is to get kids to the college and for them to graduate.
Mm.
So at that level, you essentially have unlimited scholarships for what you can bring onto your team. Now who you can race and who you can compete, like you still have the 12.6 and things like that. But the other benefit is cross country and track and field are separate in NAIA.
Mm.
So you have your 12.6 for track and field only, and I'm not sure the cross country one, it might be 6 or something like that.
Hmm.
So you have 18 or close to 19 scholarships, where NCAA you're tied at the 12.6 between cross country and track and field.
Hmm.
So the dollars can move a little bit differently and can stretch a little bit further, I
Which is
think.
interesting because NCAA, at least on the Division I side, has kicked around that idea of separate scholarships for cross country, but it did not pass through the
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, I was there. Like I was in that
Yeah,
room when coaches said no, and and realized coaches said no because they just don't want the Power Fives to they get more money. That was the reason, and I was
right.
like, and in my mind, I'm like, but more kids will go to college and graduate and
Mm.
have less student debt.
Hmm.
So they go.
Hmm.
That's the first thing through my mind and things like that. So I was like, well, what's the problem? But the other, but that's their issue, not mine.
Yeah, I see both sides. I understand both sides of the arguments,
Yeah.
and I also understand when you haven't had like plenty of programs who aren't fully funded
Hmm.
probably looked at that kind of um, rules passage of like, well, wait, we're not fully funded now, so we're not going to be fully funded then. So we're just giving those people who are fully funded more ammo. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you could be fully funded one day. One day when your athletic director and your athletic department decide that track is important, that could
Hmm.
happen.
Hmm.
So why take away from it now? Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah.
scarcity versus
Yeah.
what's the other, scarcity mindset versus a growth mindset
Yeah.
type of thing. Yeah, that's
Yep.
interesting. But
So
NAI has that. You've got 12.6 for track and 5. So how do you do, because I think I heard one of the arguments regarding that was, well, does that mean so you can only give 5 scholarships for distance runners? So let's just use easy math here. Let's say you have 6 distance runners on your team and you give 5 of them full rides. Is that other one because he or she is also a 5K person, you can't give them a scholarship at all? Or can you use one of your track scholarships for that distance runner? Like, I guess a better way of
you,
asking it is, can you give
yeah,
17.6
you
scholarships to
can.
distance runners? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you can.
Mm.
It's just up to my athletic department to report it correctly.
Hmm.
So, but what also happened, so they'd be considered like a dual sport. So it's so like that. So that distance runner who comes over to run track, say they're on a full, they're not really on a cross country full now. Now they're just on half, and then track takes the half.
Mm. Oh,
So,
interesting. Yeah.
so it works out.
So it's more of an
It work
accounting issue, but
correct.
ultimately you can still have, like I said, 17.6 scholarships and distance runners that are
Hmm.
running track. And if you
Yeah.
wanted to do 17.6 throwers, but you got to figure out how do you still, that means 5 of those are counting as cross country. You got to figure out how to run a cross
Yeah.
country team with throwers. So it's its
Ex-
own issues. Yeah.
ex-
Yeah.
exactly. So I think it works really, really well once you like, you have to, take that time and have a department willing to, share that math
Hmm. Hmm.
the correct way and be able to communicate that math the right way.
I wonder, I hope, my gut tells me yes, that when they were talking about this resolution, that they went and asked their NAIA brothers and sisters who had been through this already, pros and cons. I hope they didn't just go off their own thoughts and feelings of how it might work and actually go look and talk to people who actually have made it work so far.
You'll hope.
I
You
hope.
hope.
I have to believe. That's my belief, Stacy.
Yeah.
Don't take away my innocent belief. Okay.
You hope.
So you're growing, you're learning scholarship. Thank you for your authenticity of like, hey, I'm just kind of now really learning scholarship, and as far as
Hmm.
like how I want to develop my team and move forward. So you go through that first year, you win a national title right off the bat. I mean, golly, you hit the mountaintop right off the bat. That's crazy. But then you go to the exact opposite, the valley, in COVID coming in March of 2020, and you don't sit on the couch and eat your bonbons. You go out and you are a sponge. You are studying and working to become better. So how did the next year, 2 years go? Kind of this super Stacy, if you will, like, oh man, I'm making up for all the times that I wasn't learning through coaching. I'm making up for it.
So we get that cross country season, and a lot of those girls, they end up, a few came back, a few graduated. So we probably have like, I was like 50% of that team. The freshman class wasn't that strong at that time, and nobody was like really to go to that national level, wasn't really ready yet. Cross country season is also in the middle of track season during this time as well.
Mm,
So cross country is in during indoor season
yeah.
essentially. Um, so uh, there's nothing in the fall. We're navigating through COVID. One kid got COVID, program shut down for a week. You know, Another kid get COVID, program shut down for a week. Um, and the fortunate part with Madonna, especially at that time, our president understood tracking. So I've been fortunate as well. Our president understood track and field and
Hmm.
the importance of track and field. We've had 3 presidents now since I've been at Madonna. Each and every single one of them understand
Wow.
the importance of track and field. And I've been able to go to their offices and talk to like the university presidents and stuff
That's
like
good.
that about the sport and things the program needs. So um December, so winter break happens, we get through first semester. Um, they let me bring the team back early, like during winter break. So we got to come back, in January. Classes doesn't start till the end of January. So we just have 2-3 weeks of
Wow.
practice, like, no class, just practice. And we're in Michigan. We don't have I don't have indoor track or anything. So we're in Michigan. So
Oh.
and like I said, I've been poor my whole life. So I'm sneaking in the hallways at this other building. It's a long hallway. It's a nice 75 meters you get at that hallway. I have some runway mats. We got we have an old basketball gym on campus. So like we're figuring it out
Hustling.
as we
Yeah.
can. And we also do have some turf fields by us as well and stuff like that. So a couple days a week, we can come out the budget and get to there and practice and stuff like that. So we're just figuring out, and then um, our team, and at this time, like I'm begging. We talked about Tony Floyd, like I'm begging him to come back for grad school. I'm like, please, Tony, come back. Like he only has outdoor eligibility. Please come back, Tony. Like I don't have scholarships figured out at this time,
Yeah.
but I have a president and an AD who understands track and field. And I'm like, and I tell him like, I need Tony Floyd back. I don't understand scholarships. Tony's coming back and Tony's not paying for grad school. So Tony comes back for grad school. So like the team, our team is set. And me and my assistant coach Torrin Anderson, he was a GA at Madonna before I got there. He GA for me for a semester. He graduated and he was just a volunteer. He was a not just he was a volunteer for us. And once the cross country national championship happened, in our mindset, this is easy. So now I'm like, how many points does it take to win nationals in track? So we're looking, and we was like, oh, it's I don't I think we only went back like a year. It was like, oh, it's like 30, 40 something points. I'm like, I could put up 40 something points. Like I can put up 40 something points. Like it can't be that hard. So so we got so we have um, a jumper we're developing. Like, and he wasn't, JK, like, not the X's and O's part, but he was only jumping like in triple jump maybe like 13s,
Mhm.
low 14s. And I'm like, man, this kid can jump. Like, I don't know it, but he looks like he could jump further than this and stuff like that. So I essentially went to him, like, as a coach, like, hey, you need to jump further. What do you need to jump further? And he was like, I think I just need to lift some more weight. So, all right. So JK is on a different program than the other kids on our team. Like, he wants to lift weights 4 or 5 days a week, and he come sprint. He come jump once a week and sprint once a week, and that's JK's program. That's fine. But we had that conversation. We had that talk, and it was fine. Um, and then we had so where are we at? So then we have Tony Floyd's back. We have Cortez, who's that same 200 runner who finished third.
Mhm.
Indoor, and then we have Steven Anderson. He's a hurdler, so and our 4x1 we couldn't get our 4x1 to qualify.
Mhm.
Couldn't get them to qualify for national, so we just have these 4 individuals. Um, Outdoor season happens, and a coach from I think from Charlotte, so 49ers. So we used to go down to Moorhead. We went down to the 49ers Classic for their meet, and the coach posted on Facebook like this chart he has to score a meet. I take this chart, download this chart. So every national championship, I can score a whole meet. I can tell you exactly how a meet is going to go. Like, I predicted the last 3 NAIA national championships to the T. Like, I can tell you exactly who's going to go. Like, stuff happens at national championships. I'm yet to be wrong.
Mhm.
Um, so we're scoring a meet. We're about 2 weeks from nationals. Um, Aaliyah, who on our team, she was from the graduate. I show her the chart. I show her how to go on TFers and plug these people in and score them right here and put them right here. And I'm about to go do mobility with the sprinters in our room and stuff like that. I come back. She's like, we can win nationals. I was like, you sure? Because I didn't check the math. I'm like, you sure? I'm like, she's like, yeah. So I go look at the math she did, and I fact check it. And this is 2-3 weeks before nationals, and we only got these 4 guys. And I'm like, all right, let's go, try to win nationals and stuff. And this kind of what upset me. I told another coach, like, hey, I got a chance at winning. I got a chance of doing really well. I remember who this coach was. I remember a lot of people who didn't believe in me, by the way. So I remember this, and then um and I remember the moment, like, I knew that we were about to win. It was, and not to say anything bad about Indiana Tech, because Doug know I love Indiana Tech. Doug know I love him. I support him in that text. I think we texted this morning, actually, or last night. Um, I heard the baton drop on the second leg of the 4x1, and it was Indiana Tech, and JK just PR'd on triple jump to move up to, like, I think 5th place with that jump. And I was like, oh. And Tony had won the 10K the night before. So I was like, oh, this is now ours to lose and stuff. And, like, I knew this was coming down to like a half a point, a point. I knew what was about to happen and stuff like that. And we just had like this, but everything went great. Steven won the 110 hurdles. I think he's like number 2 on the NAI all time, all conditions times at nationals. Cortez finished third, and Tony wins the 5K. And we don't have a 4x4 at this time as well. So we need a lot of things to happen in this 4x4. I think we needed Doan had to finish 5th. Tech could not finish in the top three. Um, I needed another school to do really well who wasn't supposed to do well, but they gas professionals at nationals. I was like, I'm rooting for you all, things like that, and it worked out. And then we end up winning another national championship in 2021. We tied with Dome, but if you look up the USTF CCCA one, I won in rock paper scissors, so I got the Coach of the Year trophy.
I saw that. That's right.
And I feel like that was the real deciding factor. So
That's how all meets tiebreaker should break right there.
yeah, I mean, I'd be so confused when other meets had tiebreakers. I think
Oh
D2
man.
D2 just had a tie, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did nobody like play rock paper scissors and like break
Exactly.
the
Let's
tie?
let's get
Like,
this finalized.
yeah. So you got to come
So
up with the rules within rock paper scissors. Like, do you
that's
go on
right.
shoot? Do you go on scissors? Like, but
Very good point. You got to be technical on it. That's right.
yeah.
I have actually, little known secret, I have played rock, paper, scissors for $100 a throw. It was the most
Mm.
nervous. Yeah, back when I was a professional poker player, a guy came up and was like, "Hey man, you like rock, paper, scissors?" Because I really did like it because I think it is a skills game. It's a
Hmm.
person's game, people game.
Yep.
And I was like, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "All right, how about $100?" And I was like, "All right, man." I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this." And we tied for 18 straight throws, and every throw got more and more nervous. It's not like
Yeah.
it built up, but it was still $100, but it still was like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God, what are we doing in this one? Oh my God."
Yep.
And I finally
Yep.
came out. I prevailed in the 19th, took my $100 chip, and
And
never played rock, paper, scissors for
left.
$100 to throw again. Crazy life there. Yeah, this is amazing, Stacy. The work put in, the belief put in, we talk a lot about in track and field about individualized training, and yet here you are with your triple jumper of like, hey man, let me hear from you. What do you think you need? Not a lot of coaches can do that. Not a lot of coaches will do that. Partly a little bit because of ego of like, well, come on, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to know better than some 20-year-old. And here you are, like, all right, let me put my ego to the side. What do you need? And I'm sure if he just said something crazy like, well, I need
Yeah.
to run 10 miles a day. It's like, all right, well, that's not
Yeah.
copacetic
Yeah.
with the triple jump. But it was like, oh, okay, you need more strength. Well, that makes sense in the triple jump. I
Yeah. You
can't
gotta land.
yeah, I can't argue against that. So okay, let's give it a try. And you know what? You're going to be on this plan while our other people are in this plan. And it obviously worked out. He got top 5 scored points for you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's quite amazing. That's quite a story in its own, that championship there. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you still now? You can't be thinking it's easy, even though you won, because that was pretty complex. Like you didn't just storm away with it. Like you worked,
Yeah.
and like a lot of championships, you had to get lucky in some points. Right, the 4x1
Yeah.
had to
Oh,
drop a
yeah. Oh, yeah,
baton, and
definitely.
Don't had to
Definitely.
get fifth, and all these kind of things. But and that plays every championship that's out there. No championship
Hmm.
is easy to win.
Yeah.
But you got to be thinking, year 2 or 3 or whatever this is, and you've got 2 championships. Man, I mean, do you just think like, oh, well, okay, if I stay here 10 years, I'm going to have at least 10 championships?
I feel like now my mindset, if I stay here 10 years, I will be in a hunt for 10 championships.
That's a healthy, much healthier way of looking at it.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes. I can sleep way better now thinking
Yeah,
like that.
you'd love to be in a program where every year that's a goal and that's where you're at.
Hmm.
And that's amazing. But to put that pressure of like, well, it's actually not even pressure. It's more of disrespect for others and other programs of like, oh yeah, of course we're going to win. It's like, hey man, you mentioned Doug, who's also a Guild Podcast alum.
Yeah.
They work hard. They do a
Yes.
great job, and Doan does a
Yeah.
great job, and
Hmm.
other great programs do. They were busting their butts
Southeastern.
doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nick, another
Yeah.
podcast alum. We've had a lot of NEI guys on here. So it's disrespect to just say, of course we're going to win it. We're Madonna. I'm Stacy. That's disrespect. But to have that as your goal. And so, okay, we want to be in the hunt, because if you're in the hunt, you have a shot to win it. That's much healthier for you and your program and for the overall NAIA track and
Hmm.
field space. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great program. Like Madonna Track and Field is only 7 or 8 years old.
Wow, man.
So the program
So
is still in its
tell us
infancy.
more about the school. Like how big, how many students, what's it generally cost to go to school there?
I think most students end up paying about, mostly all of our students end up taking out their loans and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But mostly, I think after that, most students pay somewhere up to like $3,000 to $4,000
Yeah,
a
not
year.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, after you like compound all the institutional aid and the
Mhm.
grants and the scholarships.
How many students?
I think it's about 1,700. I think we have
Yeah.
I think we have our biggest class. We just built 2 brand new dorms.
Wow.
Like we have kids on a wait list for the dorms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
What um You said no indoor facility. Do you have an outdoor
Mhm.
facility?
Uh,
That's a no, by the way.
it's a
That's an automatic
well,
no.
there is a we have a track that is 400 meters. Um, it hasn't been touched in at least 20. It has to be at least be 20 years since
Okay,
it's been
because you were at
touched.
Chicago State, because Chicago State
Hmm.
has a beautiful. I love where the track sits, but that's a
Yeah.
tough track. They've had, they need
Hmm.
a new track. Is it
Yeah.
uh better or comparable to Chicago State's track?
Worse.
Okay, because Chicago State's
Yeah.
track is pretty tough. So you've
Yeah.
got a pretty tough thing that you're working with on the outdoor,
Yeah.
no indoor facility.
Hmm.
So how do you've had a lot of success, national titles, national champions. How do you, without I'm gonna say a proper outdoor facility, no indoor facility in Michigan for crying out loud. So how do you and the staff? So what's the secret sauce? How are you getting kids on campus? How are you coaching them? How are you in the hunt for these titles?
Iron sharpens iron. I think that success in 2021 and 2019, now you have more people who want to come run with us, and like, I'm honest with the kids, like, we don't have the best track facilities and things like that, but it's Michigan. We have blue collar. We're gonna put our hat and gloves on. I shovel the track when it needs to be shoveled, and you know, you can give me 50 kids in 2 lanes, and that's it. We'll figure it out. So, I think my AD has a picture of me outside, like, with the parka and my hat on. I'm shoveling the track, and then, um, maintenance will come plow like the sidewalk next to us, and I have the kids warming up in the sidewalk while I'm getting the track cleared for them and stuff like that. So, we just figure it out. We make do with what we have. Our kids are happy. Like, we have our largest roster number currently right now. Um, the kids are happy, and I think that's number one. And I think it's just more. Um, the kids know they come to Madonna. The coaches care about them
Hmm.
and things like that. And I think, if you care about people and you're honest with people, they'll come. Success it'll just keep happening.
And you're still really young. I mean, for as much success as you had, you are still, if we were to use a track analogy, you're still in the starting blocks
Yeah.
of your career here. So how do you wake up every day and still challenge yourself? How do you say, oh, I need to improve on this spot or this spot or this spot? And it could be, like I said, the non-coaching side, it could be the coaching side, could be you getting better as a head coach for your athletic department. How do you continue to say, hey, I need to get better so that I can improve?
I think that was the hardest thing for me in 2022, because we have, essentially, 2 years in, we've won two national championships.
Mhm.
Um, it was almost like, now what, in a sense, like,
Mhm.
what do you do
What's
now?
left? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the reality of it. So, we went to the mindset, with, let's try to repeat, and we finished fifth, which, looking back, like, with that team and that roster, I'm like, yeah, we were probably the fifth best team there, and things like that. So it started, like, coming to, like, grasp of, like, all right, this is, where we at now. This is who we are. Let's now find other avenues to get better, right? What else can, like, the coaching part, the X and O's part? All right, we kind of
Mhm.
got that figured out now. What else has to happen in the program? All right, let's see if I can get an NAIA team and at Texas Relays in the fast heat. You know, let's see if I can do it.
Mhm.
And we did it. We dropped the baton, which it's the only time we've ever dropped the baton there. But I got that relay there,
Mhm.
and coincidentally, USC was next to us and stuff like that, right? And this is how, like, my life just always just keeps working like that and stuff like that. So, it's like, all right, now let's create a better student athlete experience now. What else can I do now for the kids? Like, all right, we can be in a hunt, right? Check. We can do that now. Like, what else can you do, right? You come to the NAIA schools, and that's the beauty of track and field. Like, the fastest people race, it doesn't matter the level of the division.
Right.
You know, um, for most part, at most meets, like, the lanes are, randomized in the prelims and stuff like that. So, let's go to these, bigger competitions and, be that only NAIA school there
It's the
and stuff
only
like
it's the
that.
only sport that USC is going to be in the lane next to Madonna.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
what makes it so great.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I love about it. Like everyone has a chance. Everyone, no matter where you came from, your background, your history, everyone has a
Mhm.
chance.
Mhm.
So and now it's just creating that experience. So like now, I was the only full-time coach on staff like until this year. So I was like, all right, let's press the president, let's press my um our new athletic director, and let's get on people's nerves until they tell me yes, right? Kind of let's use these national championships to some good.
Leverage.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, let's leverage them for the program. Like, hey,
Mhm.
um Ypsilanti has an indoor track that's 40
Mhm.
minutes away. Can I have some money to go there? And can my kids not drive there? Can y'all get us a bus
Mhm.
and rent out this facility so we can practice? You get that yes, and check. All right, I got us a indoor spot that we can practice at, once a week. Check. All right. It looked like it's some points being left in a high jump at the conference meet. Let's go recruit some high jumpers.
Mm.
All right. Now I have a very talented group of high jumpers right now.
Mm.
I do not know how to coach high jump. uh, but the year before that, I recruit like two high jumpers, and young lady, she finishes eighth at conference, and the gentleman, he finishes second at conference. And I'm like, all right, let's get some more. I should probably get somebody who could coach high jump at this point, and I need this full time assistant. So I'm pressing, I'm begging. You're fighting for the program. And I think that's
Mhm.
what all track and field coaches. You have to fight for your program. You have to put your name on it. You have to fight for your program.
Right.
So I'm not. I'm being annoying now. I'm emailing you every 2-3 days. Hey, can I have this position? Oh, we talk about it. Hey, did you talk about it?
Mhm.
Hey, what's next? Hey, what's next? Hey, what's next? And that was my approach to that situation. And we hired Coach K, um, Katrina, and who's a phenomenal high jump coach, a phenomenal jumps coach, and hurdles coach, and things like that. And I think she's
Mhm.
going to help our program, even more, which I think now gives us another level that we can advance our program to as well, to like see what else we can do in the infancy of the program, because I think that the first 10 years of the program is critical. Everybody talk about the
Mhm.
5-year 10-year plan. Like the first 10 years of our program is critical to the next 20-30 years of the program and things like that. So just building that base, and being able to um, put kids on airplanes and things like that. I've had kids on my
Mhm.
team who's never flown on a plane before. And my first year head coach, we went down to um, Winthrop. I had a kid never flew. Like we went to the airport, and he was like, "Now what? No, I just walked to the plane. Like, oh no, I have to check. You have to go check this bag. You have to go through TSA. You got to take your shoes off,
That's
and then
precious.
right. But that's something you learn as a head coach. Like, oh, yeah, and then I have to like remember who I am and where I came from, and
Mhm.
the kids that I'm recruiting. Like, oh, there's a huge learning curve
Mhm.
to that not all, but some of our kids have and stuff. And it's my job to be there for them, to put my arms around them, to be patient with them at times and stuff. And like this is the process. Like you know, I still had kids who went to the airport. I had a kid last year. He went to the airport without his ID, and he's flown with me. And I'm like, oh my god, you know what I mean? And we figured it out. You nice to people. You talk to TSA the right way, they'll let you in. You get a whole background screening and stuff that we had to go through, and get some verifications, and great administration staff and financial aid people who can like shoot some emails off verifying
Mm.
this person. And the shout out to our SID who made sure his picture was on the website and dated back a few years, and they let him fly with this. He had a school ID with him, but not a federal ID and stuff like
Right,
that.
right,
So
right.
just figuring out how to navigate situations and navigate people and things like that. And that's the job.
So, Stacy, I'm gonna ask you a question that I haven't asked anybody on the podcast either ever or an extremely, extremely long time. As we start winding down and wrapping up today, what's a question? What's something that we don't know? What's a question I didn't ask you that I should have asked?
Um, what keeps me motivated as a coach? Um, what keeps me motivated as a competitor, the competitive side of coaching.
What is it? Yeah, that's a great question, because again, you've won, so it's like, how do you get up in the morning and try to win again? What keeps you motivated? What's your competitive nature for this coaching profession?
I think it's like once so I've told people in Coaches Collab like what I do, like the different training, how I took some stuff from Clyde and stuff, some stuff from Tony, and they were like, "Oh, that's stupid." Like, and I remember the coaches like to this day, like their pictures is also in my office, by the way. Um, um, of people who like kind of like told me no or denied me, said it won't work like this. So I don't know if it's like revenge or spite or pettiness or competitive nature. I don't know what it is, but for this moment, like this current moment in my life, because I don't think 5 years from now to be a different motivation. But right now, it's like, all right, I'm going to make sure I go to your school. I'm going to your meet. I'm going to your invite. I'm bringing my kids, and we're winning,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to compete at a high level at your meet and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now, like that's just my current motivation right now.
Well, I certainly would not want to be a picture on your dartboard. That's for sure.
Well, well, you interviewed the coach from Lords before you interviewed me.
I did. Yeah, a long time ago. He was the esports guy. I really wanted to learn about esports. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Mm,
Him and I, we still talk. He's at Saint Xavier
yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
Chicago, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's
Uh-huh.
right now. Him and I, we still talk. And I was like, oh, so Mike interviewed him before me. All right, all right.
Wow, I love that. Hey, that's cool, man. Hey, I was just about to say, maybe I should do you a favor and say, hey, Stacy, you can't win 5 in a row. And then he'd be like, you'll go out and do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He was the
yeah.
esports guy. He was
Yeah, no,
fascinating.
he's great. And him and I,
Yeah.
we still talk. Him and I,
Yeah.
we talk a lot. He's still coaching there. He's
I
still
was
working
saying,
with
and
the hurdlers
doing,
there.
yeah, and doing big with esports. Like, he
Yeah,
is
it's
really
like
growing programs. He's doing
yeah,
a
the
great
program,
job.
the behind the scenes stuff at esports, like
Hmm.
he's doing great.
He's doing really good. It's really interesting, actually. I love that. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'm I'm sure I'm on a few people's dartboards, and I'm quite okay. I'm comfortable with that. That's for sure.
It's never anything like you or any other coaches. Nothing's ever personal. Like all those
Yeah. Yeah.
coaches, like we're coaches. We still talk at the convention and face to face. Like
Yeah.
even one of those coaches, like at NA National, I think him and I we talk like
Yeah.
45 minutes and
That's
stuff like
good.
that. Like
That's healthy. You
yeah,
know,
nothing's ever personal. It's
right.
we're coaching a sport. Like
Yeah.
it's a
It,
sport.
yeah. At the end of the day, we're socks and jocks here. Let's be real. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. So,
Well, I got 2 more questions for you. One is,
mhm.
so tell us, you mentioned when you started Madonna, you were, when you got the job offer, you were a month away from being a dad. Tell us about I think you said son.
Son,
Yeah.
yep.
So tell us your little boy, and how's he doing? He's got to be
Four,
3, 4 years old.
four,
Yeah.
four. No, SJ, Stacy Jr. He's great. He's healthy. He's active. He's
Awesome.
very active. I think he's the typical boy. He jumps off of stuff. He plays. He loves his parents and
Oh.
he's happy. He's healthy. He likes doing things and stuff
That's
like that.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Such a great father. That's really cool, man. I love that. Make sure you teach him the same thing your dad taught you, that, hey, man, math is important because it's about problem solving.
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
great lesson, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, wrap us up today, Stacy, as you look into this upcoming track season here in 2024, and you're starting to continue to grow your vision of what 25, 26, 30, 32 might look like in the Madonna program, or even your own career. What's got you excited about the Madonna Crusaders coming up?
Um, we are talented. We have some post collegiates who wanted to volunteer, coach with us, and who still wants to train. And the same thing, I think that iron sharpens iron, and our event groups across the board. Like I think we're better. I think we're really we're better. We're deeper as well. Where
Mm,
our sprints are great. Some people do short sprints, long sprints. I still don't know what that means. We just run fast and then we run faster for a longer period of time. Like that's all I know. But that 100, 200 group and that 400 group is good. Our 800 group is great. Our we have a couple great milers now. We have a couple great 5Kers, the high jumpers, the long jumpers, the throwers. Oh, Coach Nia Henderson, my throws coach, she's been with us since 2021. That's who keeps me in my place. Like, I'm the head coach. She's the one who keeps the program afloat. It's
Hmm.
Coach Nia Henderson. She just got inducted to Kent State Hall of Fame a couple
Wow,
months ago.
nice.
But she's the one.
Congratulations.
She's the one who, like, she's our rock.
Hmm.
Like, she is our rock, and like what she's done with our throws group, like I think it's unheard of. Like, if somebody like really takes the time and like goes to Teefers and they pick any
Hmm.
of our kids and click that progressions button, you're gonna say there's no way this kid was throwing 48 in hammer, and now he could throw 61, and
Wow,
it's just like small progressions like that across the board, and she's the rock behind all of that for our
that's
men's and our
cool.
women's side. But just our coaching staff is better, the athletes are better, um, our administration is better. It's a little bit more flexibility with our new administration. Our new president, we have a new president. He's a runner. He's been out to some cross country meets as well.
Cool.
He ran our cross country course and stuff, well, the cross country course we were at. So
Wow,
the support, the professors on campus are more supportive. I'm
invaluable.
yeah, it's the other stuff that it's just like raising a kid, right? You need more than mom and dad. It takes a village and stuff like
Mm.
that, and we have that village. The program has that village, that support system to like really help the kids be successful, athletically and academically.
Stacy, your journey is quite amazing, from growing up in a household of 18 people. And so, growing up, I don't like the word poor, just because of the word, but but you grew up poor,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of respect for that. Going through, putting yourself into college, getting a college degree, trying to a law school. I mean, just the very fact of trying that's amazing. The people that have affected you along the way. Again, I just love that your dad was talking about math and the problem solving part of it. That's makes me I have a seventh grader and a fourth grader, and we have our own math issues, right, with seventh graders and fourth graders. And so it just makes me think about like, how I should be talking to my kids when it's homework time. And obviously Coach O'Donnell just, being you mentioned Nia being a rock for you guys, Coach O'Donnell being a rock and a great example for you in the moment and even today, looking back, when if you ever had questions of should I be doing that, should I do this? Well, what would Coach O'Donnell do? Is kind of how I feel
Yeah.
that support and rock that he is has been and continues to be for you, man. It's just quite amazing because what's awesome about this, and it's hard to see this sometimes in the moment. We haven't touched on this, but it's important for you to hear this. Is all those great examples that have been given to you along the way, you're now doing that for the kids that are on your team today and that will be tomorrow and the next day and the next day. They're seeing, you know what, Coach Latnie believed in me when I told him I needed to be in the weight room more. And he showed me unconditional belief and let me do that. And look what fruit it bore. No one else wanted me on their team, but Coach Latnie brought me onto my team and I ended up being All-American. Coach believed that I could do the 5, 10. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of actions that you do on a daily basis that seem like, well, it's just what I do, but they're big deals to that person. And that's, you're carrying on the legacy of your dad. You're carrying on the legacy of Coach O'Donnell and many, many other people, Craig Collins, who believed in you. You're continuing that legacy. And it's just so exciting to see from the outside, man. It's great to see national championships, and those are awesome to see, but that's not the important part. The important part is the positive impact that you're making on 18 to 22-year-olds on a
Mhm.
daily basis, along with that coaching staff that you have and continue to grow as well, man. So just so proud of you. Just so excited to hear your journey. And like I said, to be on the outside, again, you're such a pup. You're still so young. You're barely in the starting blocks of your entire race. It's going to be so awesome to watch the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. When you become the old grizzled coach one day, we're going to have you back and see how you've continued to develop and grow, because I have no doubts that you will continue to grow and become even better, Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So excited, man. It's hard to get 2 hours of your time. You're busy. And so I'm just very grateful that you take some time to sit down with us today and share your journey with our listeners.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here and listening. This was awesome. I told you you'd have a lot of fun with this one. So I'm going to challenge you now. Go back there. Other amazing coaches, just like Stacy here, men and women from around high school, college, NAIA, elite level, summer club, etc. Go back and check out their stories because they're important. The positive impact that you make as a coach on young people, it's invaluable. And we're on a continued mission to uplift and honor every coach out there. Even if you have to put me on your dartboard because I haven't invited you just yet. Just wait, it's Pokemon. I'm going to catch them all. You'll be on here, I promise you. So thanks for being here again this week. Join us next week on the Gill Connections podcast when we uplift and honor coaches from around the world. See you, everybody.